All right, welcome everyone for a Q&A with Teresa Ferreira, one of our mentors for this year's program. I'm Isabel, I'm the founder of Allied Networking. I think most of you have seen my face at this point. So today, as every other Q&A session, we're going to go through the questions that you've submitted ahead of time on our form. If you do have questions that you haven't submitted yet, please pop them in the chat because this is being recorded. So we're going to aim to get it up for other people to see it as well. I will love it if you could just also quickly introduce yourself to your peers here on the chat and give a little brief about who you are, why you've joined today. It's always nice to have a bit of interaction. But with that said, Teresa, welcome so much. Thank you for doing this. Could you kindly just introduce yourself and give us a little brief overview, I think, with the start of your career to date and what you're doing right now professionally?
Sure. Thank you, Isabel. Thanks so much for having, and I'm so glad to see everyone's faces. I'm Teresa. I am a full-time head of design at the Financial Times and also work as a brand consultant in my brand consultancy called My Name and Studio. I kind of came like a non-conventional way, as in my undergraduate course was in nothing related to design, but progressively kind of made my way to it. And been in London for 15 years and kind of freelancing and been in-house as well and in agency, so have like a bit of like a good breadth of experience, and yeah, excited to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about why did you decide to move to the Financial Times if you've had worked in something like that before, or what is it that made that position sort of interesting to you?
Sure. So I joined the Financial Times in 2016 as a senior designer. And I was coming from like an agency background. I was working like a small startup digital marketing agency, and I had been there for a couple of years, and I was kind of like at that stage in my career where I was like, I was already like in a senior level, but I wanted to move industry, so I really wanted to work in media, and so kind of applied for the job at the FT and got it, and yeah, been there ever since.
Amazing. So see, people applying for jobs sometimes will get you there. All right, we have quite a few questions for you. Are you ready?
Yeah, should
right.
do.
What is your day-to-day like as someone working in branding and design?
Good question. It's quite varied. So I work full-time at the FT, but I compressed my week into 4 days. So I do longer days there. And at the FT, my team does like, so designs anything editorial, anything advertising, anything branding related. So it's quite varied. We've got, I work specifically in this FT specialist department, which has its own kind of brands, and they're very kind of niche audiences. So that's like kind of the day-to-day on the FT. I manage like a small team there, and it's really, but we're part of like a bigger in-house creative studio. And that's been really amazing to work in a big team of creatives, where some of us are art workers, some of us are kind of like in a more junior side, and then we hire freelancers. So it's really interesting and sort of dynamic. It's really fast paced because it's media, so you have to kind of be really current and relevant. And I love branding, a bit of a branding geek, so I really enjoy that side of storytelling and getting the message across right and building that relationship and connection with audiences that I get to do there. And then in my brand consultancy, I do it once a week, and then evenings and weekends and anytime that I can squeeze into it. And it's been really varied. I like working with small businesses, small independent businesses that I can support and give a bit of my experience and expertise to. And I've just finished my first wellness brand, so that was really fun to do. And before that, I worked with like ethical fashion tech company. So yeah, it's all been a bit all over the place, but I kind of try and find projects that I align myself with, because kind of that's my ethos, and wanting to create brands that are meaningful, that want to create a positive impact in the world, and not just clutter, bring more commercial clutter or out there.
I love that. I think since you mentioned your team, I'm going to segue into one question that we had about this, which was, how do you select people for your team? What are things you value most professionally?
It's a very good question. I think that initially, because it's a creative team, I judge them on their CVs and their portfolio. So kind of what they can show, the projects that they have, and it doesn't really matter. Lots of people just include projects, even if they haven't worked for those brands or anything. They just kind of include things that are kind of reimagining certain brands or certain websites, and that's really helpful to put things into context, to kind of get like a big brand even if it's not real work. So because that's how we judge them before we get them into interviews. And then on the interview, I think it's very much like any other area where it's kind of like a chemistry session, where you're finding out if the person's going to be a good fit to work together, to kind of if they're going to be a good fit within the wider team. We kind of have at the FT, we kind of conduct a really sort of thorough kind of recruitment process, where there's like first interviews, there's second interviews, sometimes third interviews, and really often in fact in our team there's always tasks as well. So we kind of when things before we select anyone, we kind of want to see how they work with our brands, and yeah, in a nutshell it's that. And then on my brand consultancy, I kind of have having been here for 15 years, like I know quite a few creatives and copywriters and people who I like working with, and that I will recommend to be kind of stakeholders in the project, and get them on board with whatever brand I'm working with.
Sorry, I had to go. Thanks, Teresa. Really useful. All right, more questions about the role itself. What is the difference between working in branding and working in marketing? Do these sectors overlap and ever work together?
Absolutely, yeah. So they, I mean, as you know, marketing, is kind of putting your tone of voice out there and your messaging there and stuff. So although it's very, it has like different kind of specialities and specifics to branding, it can't really, it's something that really works. There's a huge intersection there, and we work really closely with the marketing department. So branding, I would say, because it's such like a holistic thing, it will go across everything. So not only marketing, but also product side, editorial, all the content. So yeah, every single touch point is something that we kind of have a bit of an art direction role with on, even if we're not creating the assets ourselves or delivering the work ourselves. So yeah, we're quite keen on collaborating always, and kind of like working cross-functionally. So getting stakeholders from all these different departments across the Financial Times working together and kind of delivering a project, because you kind of need that 360 view, the whole thing.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Teresa. Okay, more questions. What are the skills do you need to work in your industry? Do you have any advice for someone who wants to gain these skills and jump into branding?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's lots of transferable skills that I think that are really kind of relevant to anyone. Is I think main thing is be a keen sort of an avid learner, be curious about what is happening in the industry, be kind of experimental as well, you know, like try different platforms and softwares, because obviously in the design industry, well, things are always evolving. You know, there's like best practices that you need to be aware of. So it's good to be kind of, you know, having your finger in the on the pulse of what's happening and what people are doing out there and putting out there. I guess specifically for branding, in terms of like more specific skills, I think it's sort of having that sort of overview, enjoying that the strategic vision. So, you know, kind of what are the goals, what are the mission, what is the purpose, and, you know, what is the plan to get there. So kind of that strategic mindset really helps as well in branding. In fact, is really important in branding. And I guess, yeah, just go for it, really. Just if this is if this is an area that you enjoy, then it's already a good sign that, you know, you're doing your research, you're interested, and that's like, that goes a long way.
Amazing. Thank you. All right. How would you advise someone who wants to set up their own freelance branding consultancy? I think that's the word. Yeah, consultancy.
Yeah. So I would say do a few projects to see if this is really something you enjoy. And I guess, like, be scared of putting stuff out there. And there is a lot of this as well, you know, into just thinking of skills as well that are important. You know, it's people skills as well. You're working with people. You're kind of like taking, in branding, you take people on a journey as well. If you're selling your vision, you know, if you so after, you know, you have the research piece where you have to, you know what's happening in the industry, know who the competitors are. You then put together, like, you know, you work on a mission with the founders and, you know, the brand that you're working with, because they're the ones who know your brand best. And then after that, it's kind of like just going for it, trusting your intuition, and yeah, kind of not being scared of exploring things that might be unconventional, or that, you know, are not on trend. Because I think, you know, brands shouldn't really be, although it is nice to, you know, some trends are really nice, and they might suit some brands, but they won't suit some other brands. So it's really important to kind of really get to the DNA of the brand, and what is the purpose, what is the mission, who's the audience, how to actually deliver something that is relevant.
Amazing. Okay, that's a great question, a great segue actually to our next question, which is, how do you start a designer-client relationship on the right foot?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, what I said before is like people skills. So you kind of have to, you're working with people, and when people come to you to do the branding, it is their baby, it's their business, you know. So you kind of have to find a way of collaborating and getting what you need in terms of all that information that will enable you to create something that is that really connects with the audience, and that is like really relevant for for the brand. But yeah, without having a good relationship with people, then things get tricky, and you know, so many in design, especially because it's like a bit of a subjective view of things, and you know, people do tend to project a lot of their personal opinions and their personal tastes onto it. And of course, you want to please the founders, and you want to please the people that you're delivering the brand to. But at the same time, sometimes you might have to negotiate your way out of their personal taste, or go, you know, because it is what serves the brand better. I guess it's people skills. It's getting people trusting you. Trust is really important, I think. It's like just building that connection, and ultimately reminding them that you're working together. It's not, them giving you a brief and then you going away and then delivering something in the end that is completely unrelated to what they asked for. It's like, the process is like quite iterative. So, you've got rounds of, you present your roughs, you discuss them, you kind of like bring, and I find that it's always really important to substantiate everything with research and data. So any kind of research and data that they might have from their audiences is really important for anything that you do with the brand, because even if it goes against their personal taste, you can always kind of rely on, but this is actually what the audience relates to. So if you want to be successful, this is the type of visual language that you need to apply on this. So I guess it is knowing your stuff, researching, being data-led, and kind of, working in a collaborative way.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, we're getting to them. Thanks, Teresa. How are you feeling? Is it okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm just trying to be succinct because I don't know how many questions are coming. So I'm just like trying to
I
get to
know.
the gist.
We have quite a few more. We have a really interesting question, which was, sorry, let me read this properly. How do I progress in my career within an organization? What are things that I can do to prove that I'm ready for a promotion or to get more responsibility? Have you ever had to do that yourself or negotiate a new role?
Yes. Yeah. All the time. Yeah, absolutely. That's a very good question. And I guess it really depends on the organization, but I think it's important to kind of build your internal network of people who support you. And obviously, I like networking is all about, that supportive network that kind of, where you can tap into for advice, for, kind of finding out hearing through the grapevine of opportunities or projects. I think that lots of big organizations, they are, if when they hire you, they're keen to keep you. So a way of doing so when you feel like you've reached a glass ceiling on what you're doing and stuff is trying to sidestep onto another area of the business if that's something that might be relevant to you. Negotiating pay rises and salaries and that kind of conversations. I think it's a lot about keeping a log of your achievements. So anytime that a project goes well, or nice feedback from people that you're working with, just keep a log of it, even if it's just like on a doc or like your notes on your phone. And that way, if you do it systematically and you review your achievements, you're kind of like more aware of your worth as well. And then when you have those negotiations, you can say, I believe that I'm already at this level because I've delivered this and I've achieved this, and because it is a negotiation. Hopefully you'll be in an organization where you want to stick around for, and you kind of need to take ownership of your career. I think that's something that I didn't realize at the beginning of my career. I thought that you were just good and then things were going to progress, but obviously with recessions and like all these things that we're going through in our generation, I guess you just have to be a bit more savvy and negotiate like a man in a certain way. Just what would a white middle-aged boomer do in my position? And then I take the good things, not take the confidence bit, maybe not the other stuff. So it's just taking ownership and having a bit of confidence. Sometimes I know that that's something as creatives it's really hard to harness, but yeah, keep those logs because it helps sometimes to just go through it and go, I've actually done stuff this year, and it's been good.
I think that's such great advice, actually. And I think everyone should do this, regardless if you're trying to get a promotion or not, even if you're a freelancer. just so you can keep track of what you've achieved in a year and then go back to it and be, because it's often we don't really, I think, congratulate ourselves enough for what we've done, because once we've done something, it's like, okay, that's done next, right? Which is, of course, important to have this sort of mindset, and you want to be continuously evolving, but then we'll get one rejection or something doesn't go our way, and then we'll be like, oh my God, I don't know how to do anything. I'm now not going anywhere. And we don't see how far we've come, like what we've promised we would do in like 2 years. And you're like, well, actually, I've done all of this and I have achieved all of this. So I think this is really great advice. And as you said, Teresa, like no one's going to advocate for your success as much as you. So we definitely need to do that properly. Thank you for sharing that. Do we have any more questions here from the chat? So otherwise I'll go to the last question we have on the forum. Sorry, I knew we had a lot.
No, it's good. I like it. Put me on the spot.
Yeah. What are some ways that you recommend we network to get involved into branding with people in fashion businesses or agencies? Do you have any suggestions?
That's a good question. I guess like attending industry events always helps, going to conferences. It's always a good way of it's always an interactive way of meeting people. I guess now post pandemic is you've got the option, even if you're not London based or kind of Manchester based or kind of based on these cities, there's also like remote sessions that you can attend, and you can kind of don't be shy about asking to connect on social media or wherever you have your platform. Reach out to people. I think just going on cold pitching is a good, or just even if it's not pitching, but just saying, hi, I'm so and so, I really love what your brand does. I think it's fantastic. Have you got any kind of projects or opportunities in the next coming months? If so, I'm available and I'd love to work together. I don't know, I think that's always a good way of approaching people. There's so many channels now and things that you can do. There's like all these kind of creative networks, like I Love Networking. There's other ones like Stack, Albright, Marguerite. There's like all these different community and quite like sort of creatively focused as well, so where you'll meet people that are part of these industries. So yeah, I guess just see what's out there and put yourself out there as well as much as you can.
I love that. Thanks, Teresa. And yeah, quick little plug is that we do have a networking guide that you guys can get 15% off. It's on our Slack. Okay, last question. Do we have time for last one? All right.
Yeah.
For someone changing careers from being a former corporate lawyer to now being a content creator, speaker, artist, writer, how favorably do you consider career changers with no relevant experience? And I'm just going to put a little caveat to this, Lara. I don't think if you have some experience, you probably have some transferable experience. But
of course,
Teresa, you go. How would you suggest, I guess, this person frame themselves?
I support career changing, and I support going for whatever at whatever age, at whatever completely support it. And as I said, I myself don't come from a linear design, but I did my degree in archaeology, so it has nothing to do with design. But you then you get to a stage where you realize maybe this is not for me, and you put yourself out there, get the skills that there's so many short courses, there's so many, if there's skills that you think you're lacking, like technical, there's so many Skillshare. I mean, I'm not sure if we can plug things, but there's like really useful platforms there that even YouTube, that where you can learn lots of things and practice yourself, kind of don't be scared of learning new things ever, and completely support career changes, and pivoting is so important. And I think that it's unrealistic in the world that we live in to think that you will be stuck doing the same thing all the time. I don't know, at least that's something that I don't think. I mean, that's what I like about branding, is just that each project is kind of like a fresh new thing. But yeah, I think we should all explore. We're all so multifaceted as humans that it's just, we are in a really nice space culturally where we can embrace it. And so yeah, take advantage of your networks, your spaces, and put yourself out there.
Amazing. Yeah, I highly recommend that. And I would just say that jobs and roles are evolving faster than the education departments or institutions have been evolving in the past because of technology and what's been happening in the world. And also the past few years with the pandemic, a lot of people have revisited their goals and their lifestyle. So it's a good way to frame your narrative as well, to explain the journey. It can be hard to find the first step into that industry because not everyone is looking for a culture ad. A lot of people are just looking for cultural fits, but it's like anything else, I think involves a bit of resilience. But yeah, I agree with you, Teresa. I don't think you need to. No, I think it's very rare to find someone who has never had a career that's a little like this, instead of like that, especially in the creative industries.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, Teresa, thank you so much for spending time with us and answering all those questions. I know there was a lot. Can you just give us a brief idea of how can people get in touch with you or see your work or connect with you and maybe send you a thanks for coming or send you a high five or anything like that online?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so pleased to see everyone, and I hope I answered everything. So I've got my website, which is just myname.com. You can always reach out to me on my email, which is info@teresaferreira.com, and also on social. I'm on Instagram and sometimes on TikTok, kind of trying to see if that's for me or not, but definitely Instagram. And yeah, email me. More than happy to chat. LinkedIn as well, all the common stuff. But yeah, always happy to chat, always happy to, if you need any help, just reach out and for chat or anything.
Amazing. Thanks so much again, Teresa. Thanks everyone for spending lunchtime with us. We have more Q&A sessions next week and more sessions in general. Thank you all for coming. Please do chat with each other as well. Share your knowledge, any insights. If you do know of networking events in this area or anything else in the industry, please share with your peers. And yeah, I'll see you all next time. Thanks again, Teresa. Lovely to have you here with us.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.